What is good? We're back. And today we're going to run through our favorite picks in every round. We're going to go through about 10-ish rounds. You know, this is a good exercise in more so almost like an ADP review, but we're going to kind of go through it. We're going to show you where the market is on these players to give you an idea of who's in the first round, who's in the second round, who we like the most there. So just going to have an open discussion through like 10 rounds of where our FFD Superflex tight end premium ADP stands currently, and give you one of our favorite players in said round for whatever various different reasons it may be. May just be value, maybe I love the player, maybe something silly. But let's take a look at the market and have a little review on kind of what's going on out there. Chev, what's up, man?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of dirt's a good one.
That's right. I got my man Chev. We're gonna go through it. All right, round one. We got a lot of quarterbacks. It's Josh Allen, it's Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Hurts are the first 6 picks off the board in our ADP. This is tight end premium 1.5. Then it goes Brock Bowers, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, Neighbors, Bijan, and Gibbs. And those are the first 12 picks right now in our average draft position is what ADP stands for if you're new here. So that we've done a bunch of drafts, compiled this information. And throughout those 12 picks, Chev, who is your go-to right now that you like for whatever reason it is in the first round?
Bijan. Yeah.
Okay.
Bijan coming off the board, like you just mentioned, at the 111. For me, I think that he's my candidate right now. And you've heard me say this in several text messages, on different like chats that we're in together. He's my favorite to finish as the overall RB1 this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going Bijan. I've solemnly sworn, or whatever you want to say, like Bijan is my RB1, and the fact that like I can get him at the end of the first round after missing out on those quarterbacks. Yeah, I'll start my draft with that every single time.
Yeah, and clearly, guys, some of this isn't going to be groundbreaking information, right? But again, it's just kind of assessing the market, talking about what we like, and we'll talk about some rationale. And Chev, I'm with you there. Like, I kind of like being in the back half of the draft. This year, every year is different of how the board kind of pans out, and depending obviously on how last year went and where the values are. But Bijan being there on that back 111 and being able to start there, and then having some options. Whether or not you want to go with another quarterback or a receiver or another running back and just hammer that position there. We do a third round reversal. So like if you had the 11, you'd be up at the top of the third round right there, which kind of helps in the super flex situation with, those guys can go heavy quarterback and you might not have a chance for them. So it kind of evens the playing field a little bit, but I kind of like being in the back end for that reason. Because you come back on the third and I like kind of where the quarterback values are, and we'll talk about them in the 4th, 5th, 6th year. But I got Patrick Mahomes after saying all that, mostly because he's at 109 right now, right? And I think that's a really good value. I think, people have really short memories of how good this guy is. Like, he's been out there battling year over year, getting his team to the playoffs and the Super Bowls, and he's done it a myriad of different ways, right? He's had the crazy big, he's QB1, locked and loaded, to now he's all the way down at the board. And sometimes you get him at 9, 10, 11, and I'll take that discount all day long. Look, I think the Chiefs are going to go heading back in the direction of having a really tough offense to deal with. The 3 set that they're going to bring out there in Worthy, Hollywood, which we didn't get to see at all, and Rashee Rice, who we saw through 3 weeks last year, have up there with the top 5 receivers in the league. Kelsey's getting a little older. Maybe this new set of receivers out there will kind of allow Kelsey to. I don't think you're going to be doubling Kelsey up anymore in his age 36 season, right? That's right. Going to go somewhere else. So, we're going to spread people out. I think Patrick Mahomes in this offense gets back into that 30-point a game. And if that happens, and we know where this defense has kind of been the glue over the last few years, obviously Pat can get it done in the close games, and that's why he's so good. But let's not get it twisted. That Pat could still put up, one of the league high scoring offenses, right? So that's why I like Patrick Mahomes here. It just seems like, even if he isn't QB 1 through 5, it's still a really good cost. And I don't think he's going anywhere for 5 to 8 more years and has a chance to be QB 1 again, in my opinion.
Without question, not to spend too much time there because, I mean, you hit all the points on the head. There's a couple things so going into startups in 2024, Mahomes was probably a top 6 pick because we were predicting the breakout. Like, okay, the defense carried you to a Super Bowl. They're telling you that they want to go back more so towards the Legion of Zoom. The defense stays staunch this year. They won a bunch of one-score games they probably shouldn't have won.
Right.
Those games, I think, are kind of a changing of the guard for those teams pushing them to the limit. Like the gap is closing from a talent perspective. It just so happens that Mahomes is, he's special in the special moments, so they win all those games. But if those games turn into shootouts or the defense takes a step back, we've seen 5,050, we've seen 5,243 from Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
We can get, it's within reason to say we can get a 4,040 touchdown season from Mahomes. And then all of a sudden, now he's back in QB2, QB3, QB4, those discussions, because he was what Joe Burrow's doing now before Joe Burrow.
Right. Right. And he's so good at keeping plays alive. And then there's always like a little bit of rushing there. He's usually like mid-pack and kind of rush yards, which is, helps a little bit game over game, and he can run them into. All right, let's move on to the second round. Again, this is an ADP review. It's kind of going to play like a mock a little bit, but this is the average draft position of these players. So you're not relying on people to have to pick them. They've already done that and we've averaged it together. So I know for some of you're like, duh, but other people, might not be quite as advanced as everybody else. So we try to give a little bit of insight of kind of what's going on. All right, 201, we had CeeDee Lamb, 202, Genty, 203, St. Brown, 204, Puka, 205, Brian Thomas, 206, Tre McBride, 207, Justin Herbert, 208, Drake May, 209, Caleb Williams, 210, Nico, 211, CJ Stroud, 212, Drake London. I like a lot of picks in this second round here, Chev. McBride was on my radar there, being able to get who could easily be the tight end 1 over the next 3 years at the 206 and tight end premium in the middle of the second round is huge. Drake at the end of the second round for me, I've kind of got him in that St. Brown-ish range for sure at this point. Like I might rather have Drake than St. Brown at this point. So I like the fact that I can get him at 212 in some drafts. But Caleb Williams is again the pick here for me in this range. We just did an episode that came out with breakouts. I talked all about Caleb Williams. I'm not going to hit every single thing. I just like that he's down here almost at the back end of a second round. The values, stayed strong enough, but it's also weak enough for me to not have to take him on the turn at 112, 111. I'm almost all the way back on the other turn, right? Yep. And I think everything is moving in a very positive direction for Caleb Williams. He's surrounded with talent everywhere. They've upgraded the offensive line. You got an offensive coach in there. So I think all signs point to Caleb Williams having a good year. If you want to hear more of it, go check out the breakout show and there's more Caleb Williams talk in there. But to me, he's one of my favorite picks in the second round at 209. Who you got, Chev?
We'll be back with more FFD after a short commercial break. If you're as serious as we are about Dynasty, you gotta be playing on FFPC. They are now the proud home of over 2,000 Dynasty leagues, and not a single league has ever folded. Incredible. Drafts are kicking off every day, so go over to myffpc.com and take your game to the next level. New users get $25 off their first league using code FFD. Holler at your boys.
All right, so I was gonna go a little bit earlier in the round. I ended up making the executive decision to go with one of my guys that I've been banging the drum for since early 2023. I'm going to go Tre McBride here.
Like it.
I'm going to go Tre McBride. So you're getting everything that Brock Bowers gave you, but let's just say we get to a reasonable amount of touchdown regression. Let's say we go from the 138 targets that he had last year in 16 games. And more than 2 of those are receiving scores. More than 2. Let's say 6. Like, he's a tight end 1. He's 25 years old. He just got the contract. Like, he's absurd. And there's no other way to put it. I mean, we're talking about he's 33.7% first read share, 26.5% target share. That was actually the most in the league. 2.24 yards per route run, 30.8% of his team's yards. So for me, getting essentially production from Brock Bowers a whole round later, I'm not going to pass on that. Yeah. That's just, I mean, Tre McBride is one of, this is the next generation of Kittle, Kelsey, whatever you want to call it. That's the next generation. Brock Bowers and Tre McBride are the guys that we're going to look at and be like, oh, well, there's only two guys that are locked in for 1,000 yards and, 8 to 10 touchdowns every year. And those are the guys. So if I can get the Brock Bowers level of production from a guy that's around later, I'm going to do that every single time.
Yeah. I like it. I'm right there with you. I personally like Tre McBride as the tight end one, but I don't want to get anybody too wrong.
Whoa. Hey, the mic picked that up, so we're about to get fried in the comments.
Whatever. It's same tier, pick your poison. Right. But I think I like McBride, man. I love him. I think he's great. All right, let's go to the third round. Marv Harrison leading that one off, then Bo Nix, then Saquon Barkley, Ladd McConkey. Oh, excuse me. Ladd McConkey at 304. 305. We got Amarion Hampton, 36 Achane, 37 JSN, Jordan Love, Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, 310, Rashee Rice, 311, and Tre McMillan rounding out the third round. Who you like in this one? Who's your favorite must draft player in the third round here?
Oh, it's Rashee Rice.
All right. So just barely make 311. I like it.
Just barely made it. I mean,
original.
How many times does a player have to show us that they're good for us to believe that they're actually good? Yeah. Like, has Rashee Rice ever shown you that he's not an excellent American tackle football player? At any point since he's been a professional American tackle football player, has he ever shown you that he's a bad football player?
No.
Like, we go back to his rookie year. We talk about the Chiefs and how they deploy their wide receivers when they got one that hits. The second half of the season, you see a huge uptick in the way that they're used. So 11-17, you took that pace and extrapolated over a whole season for Rashee Rice. It's 148 targets, 115 receptions, 1,468 yards, and 9 touchdowns. The receptions and the yards would have set the rookie record. They would still be the rookie record that's now held by Brock Bowers and held for receivers by Malik Neighbors. Then he comes out last year and he's 21 points a game in 3 games. We don't count week 4 because he only played 6% of the snaps. He's 21.2 points a game, 27 targets, 24 receptions, 288 yards and 2 touchdowns in 3 games. He's basically become the easy button in the offense he's a slot machine. He's pure slot machine, 160 target slot machine with the best quarterback in football who you took in the first round. So I want that option. I think Xavier Worthy gets deployed in a totally different way. Him and Hollywood Brown are running deep crossers, and Rashee Rice is operating with impunity over the middle of the field, in the short area. And that's where his value is going to come from a fantasy perspective. So yes, I'm going to buy the dip again. I thought going into 2024 that he'd probably be earlier, pushed up into maybe early third, maybe second round, probably where Ladd McConkey's going, maybe a little bit earlier. But that's, for me, being able to buy the dip again on Rashee Rice is where I'm at, especially late in the third.
Yeah, no, that's if he finishes, or I think even if he has a longer stretch of what he was doing, I think you would never get him at this price tag. And God forbid he finishes the season healthy last year. He's a turn. He's where Bijan and Gibbs were in there, right? I think he's right up there with all those guys. So you're getting potential wide receiver 1 points at 311 there. So I'm with you. I like it. We've been a big Rashee Rice podcast for a while, so love to hear that. I'm going Devon Achane here at 306. I just look. There's a ton of passing volume for him, which makes that floor super high. I think there's another level where he could take the rushing to, and he breaks off long runs. He's got everything that you want in just in a fantasy player. And you can get him in the third round, especially the running back position, right? He can break off the big ones. He's a pass catching machine. He can make you miss. And this Dolphins offense, I think you see a retooling a little bit. You saw last year that they kind of had to switch up to everyone was kind of shell protecting kind of what was going on. So you saw a lot of Achane and Jonnu kind of dump offs being kind of the easy button for them. I think they reinvent the wheel a little. Listen, they have to, or the coach is getting fired. So I think he comes in and says, all right, well, how do we beat, if this is how they're going to play us, how do we beat this? Now, you could say that could be detrimental for Achane, but I think the role kind of stays the same. There's still, if Waddle and Tyreek are eating you up, the easy button's going to be Achane underneath consistently. So to me, it doesn't matter how this offense is built. He's that easy thing kind of underneath that you could just feed. And oh, by the way, you could just put it in his gut. And, he doesn't need to have 20 touches in his gut. He could split those up almost evenly as far as, 6-8 pass catches and 12, 15 rushes. And he's going to be up there with any running back in the league on a points per game standpoint. So I like him a lot here at 306. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I've been a big Achane guy since the Texas A&M days. So yeah, I'm in lockstep there.
All right, let's go on to the fourth round. Fourth round, we got Breece Hall leading it off. Kyler Murray, Travis Hunter, Brock Purdy, Bucky Irving, 405, Jonathan Taylor, 406, Travion Henderson, 408, T. Higgins, 409, Baker Mayfield, 410, Sam Laporta, 411, Rome Odunze, 412. Who's your guy here, Chev? I'm going JT. Who you going?
Breece Hall.
Yeah. See, I was going to do it, but I feel like we've already gotten the rise out of everybody for Breece. So you could do it again.
I'll do it again.
Steely Dan said, do it again. So do it again, baby.
I don't care. I like 215-pound running backs that run 4.3 that catch the ball well and have a 3-down profile. Sue me. I like guys that are going into their their age 24 season, and they'll be in a second contract. So yes, I love selecting Breece Hall here. We're talking about a guy who was in that same range as Bijan last year. You got personally harmed because he didn't break out in the way Bijan did. He's never rushed for 1,000 yards. Woo! So he can't be good. And I find myself just flabbergasted by the fact that people are just, Braylon Allen, Aaron Glenn's from Detroit. They're going to use 2 running backs. Breece played 72% of the snaps last year. Once we have those guys on the field together, it's going to be very obvious who the best player is in that backfield. And I fully expect that to bear itself out. And people say, Justin Fields doesn't check down to the running back. He checks down more than any other mobile quarterback. Mobile meaning I could run for 700 to 1,000 yards at any given time than any other mobile quarterback out there. So, yes, I'm going with Breece Hall because I feel like everything is lining up for him to smash this ADP and be back in that range, high, potentially higher than Achane, in that Gibbs Bijan range again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're setting up the Detroit thing should be they're going to set up to run the ball and play some defense. Well, I don't know how that Jets defense is going to be. That could be a big factor in things. But between Fields and Breece and if Breece is one of the best pass catching backs in the league. I don't care. The stats are irrelevant if you just have to watch what's going on with Breece. He's right up there with anybody in the league as far as a pass catching running back. This offensive line should be great. They can play Braylon Allen. Almost every team in the league plays another back, but Breece just needs to be healthy. If Breece is healthy, he's going to reinvigorate everybody for how they felt about him. This is just what we do. We go through these cycles of, he didn't meet our expectations, so now we hate him and the value's down, and then you buy into the dip a little bit. So I like it. And I went JT here. He kind of had the same thing going on. People were, he stinks, he's out, blah, 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 blah. Had some injuries. Breece has had some injuries. But the back half of last year, man, Jonathan Taylor was absolutely fantastic, a league winner. And I think we just got, again, everybody, you need all these guys to stay healthy if it's going to pan out. But if Jonathan Taylor is healthy for 17 games for the Colts, he's going to be up near the top end of the rush leader. And if not the rush leader, should be plenty of TD opportunities. Now, he's not the volume pass catcher, but he can see 30 to 40 pass targets or receptions, rather, a season without any problem. He's not a liability in that situation. He's just not quite Breece or Achane as far as the running routes. But check it down to him out of the backfield. That's what they should be doing. They should be giving Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones easy buttons out of the backfield to just dump it off and let JT go to work in any which way. And again, Jonathan Taylor was absolutely a man possessed at the end of last season. So I think he picks right up where he was and absolutely slaughters it. I can't not get past JT right there. He's just a workhorse. We've seen it before. We kind of missed out on it a little chunk. I think we're back.
Yeah, it's poor man's Derrick Henry, pretty much. Like, you're going to replicate, he's 14 games last year, 1,400 yards, 100 yards a game. So if we're talking about him playing 17, you're talking upwards of 1,700 yards rushing from a guy who you can get in the fourth round. Now, he's not going to catch passes. His pass catching has gone through a steep decline since his first 2 years where he caught 36 and 40 passes. But yeah, I love that pick right here. I want to get to one that we hate so I can stop agreeing with you so much.
Okay. Bucky no, I'm just kidding. All right, let's shoot over to the fifth round here. We got Trevor Lawrence coming in at 501, Penix 502, Kyron Williams 53, Quinshon Judkins 504, JJ McCarthy 505, James Cook 506, Goff 57, Tyler Warren 58, Chase Brown, Xavier Worthy, Josh Jacobs at 5'11", and Dakota Prescott at 5'12". All right, let's see. I don't think you're going to hate this one. I'm going Tyler Warren in this one at 5'08". Who you got?
I've got Dakota Prescott, Cowboys starting quarterback.
I like it. I'll jump in on this one first. I mean, I could have wanted to take my guy Chase Brown just to, flex on everybody a little bit here. And I've been trying to stay off the rookies a little bit, but I had to take Tyler Warren here just because we're talking about the middle of the fifth round. It's tight end premium. The bottom of the tight end market, or the high end bottom of the tight end market, falls off really fast, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it might not be exactly what you want it to be year one, or it could be a very, very good surprise. And he could be, we've been saying the easy button this whole podcast, so we'll keep going. Like, he could be their easy button just in the middle of the field, right? He's good in the contested situation. He could just be eating in that middle of the field. And by the way, you and I have talked about this before, Chev. Like, you can get him in different packages down in the green area or the red area, whatever you want to call it, right? You could be loading up the box. You could have him, JT, and Anthony Richardson in the backfield, and being able to do a whole bunch of different things with that selection. And now that isn't the reason why I'm drafting him, but it's just one more little bonus of like, this guy could have 2 or 3 rushing TDs or 2 or 3 passing touchdowns without thinking very hard about it, right? And then kind of getting back to where the tight end market is, like, he's already the tight end 3 in almost everybody's dynasty rankings for tight ends, if not 4. If it doesn't go great this year, I think it's to be expected. So I don't think you're going to see some steep decline in the value of him. It's just like after him, it goes Loveland, or maybe you have Loveland ahead of him and Laporta, and then you're into Kittle and Hawkinson, which Kittle's 30, Hawkinson, you have McCarthy, and I think people are a little And then after that, it's wide open to kind of your interpretation of whatever you think, and it's the Evan Ingrams and the Jonnu Smiths, and Dalton Kincaid hasn't really quite panned out yet. Kyle Pitts still isn't what Kyle Pitts we thought he might be, right? So there's just a whole bunch of ifs, ands, and maybes down there through the next 5-6 rounds where I'm just going to take, if I get the opportunity to draft Tyler Warren and tight end premium, I'm going to do so. So
yeah, I 100% agree with you. I like everyone else was very disappointed that he went to the Colts, because I struggle with the idea about who's going to be tossing passes to him. But we just saw, and not that this is a one-to-one comparison. Obviously, Brock Bowers, generational talents, your tight end 1, whatever, one of the best tight end prospects ever. Is Tyler Warren that? Not exactly. But he's a ridiculous player that one thing that I like to buy into personally is guys who are like tight ends who are the centerpiece of their offense. And there's no denying that about Tyler Warren. I think that he could come in. There's a there's a vacuum of opportunity here with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman pretty much splitting their targets evenly. We could get Tyler Warren just commanding and dominating a completely different part of the field or dominating all over the field. Mind you, he is 6'6", he's 260. So I think that's, if you're not going to buy into the first three tight ends off the board, which are and almost certainly are going to be George Kittle, Tre McBride, and Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta, yeah.
Yeah, Sam Laporta,
Brock Bowers, Tre McBride,
yeah,
Laporta.
And then Kittle or whatever. Like, if you're not going to price yourself into those early tight ends, then you could wait a couple rounds and then you could go get Sam Laporta. You could go get Tyler Warren. And I think that's going to pay dividends faster than it doesn't. And, you're getting a discount because, people think it's going to be a terrible fit and a terrible offense.
How would you like it if we paid your 2025 league entry fee? All you have to do is submit proof of a 5-star review from Spotify and or iTunes, click the link, and fill out the entry form. Multiple entries allowed. In fact, come into your friend's phone to quadruple your chances to win. Each losing entry will automatically roll over to the next most contest, all for your pleasure.
Me, Dak Prescott, I think, being able to buy him here when just a year ago he was around that third round range after throwing for 4,536. He's got the contract security. They don't have a real run game, in my opinion. I don't think that Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are going to recreate early years of prime Zeke. So we're looking at another 590 or so attempts from Dak Prescott, in which case he now has George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, who he targeted the most in the red zone amongst tight ends 2 years ago, and CeeDee Lamb, who is an alpha level, omega level talent. So, yeah, I think Dak Prescott here smashes on his QB 21 ADP.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is when we led the show off with the quarterbacks and being in the back half of that sort of third round reversal and the back end of the first round and the turnaround and the turn in the second there. This is kind of why I like it. You got Trevor here in the 5th round. Penix was going to be my guy here, but I wanted to talk about Tyler Warren a little bit. You got Goff. You got Dak Prescott. So there's Baker was up here in the 4th. And you have Cam Ward kind of floating around here. So it's like all through 4 through 6, there's a bunch of quarterbacks that I really, really like here, which is a reason why I kind of like being on the back end and kind of the way the quarterbacks have been kind of playing out a little bit. So, yeah. Dak Prescott just two years ago was QB3, right? Or something along those lines and having a really good season. So I think that he's set up for the best success he's had in a while. They've kind of retooled that line. They brought in Pickens. Like you said, Ferguson's probably one of the cheapest tight end premium assets that's all but forgotten, but Dak loves that man.
Yeah. And he's playing for a contract.
Right. So, we shall see, but I like where Dak can be drafted. He's a tough one to pass up on. So, all right, let's move to the 6th round. We got Devonta Smith leading it off, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Ward, Caleb Johnson at 6'3", Kenneth Walker, Colston Loveland, 605, Zay Flowers, 606, Ibuka, 607, 608, Hawkinson, Harvey at 609, Kittle at 610, Bryce Young, 611, and Chris Olave at 612. This was a tough one for me because I like a lot of guys in this round. Obviously, if you've been following the show, I love Caleb Johnson. Felt like that was the layup, so I wanted to stay away from that one.
We've heard you say it quite a few times. So if you don't know that he likes Caleb Johnson, you're new here, which is fine.
And then, of course, I love Kenny 3-Sticks. I love Zay Flowers. I like RJ Harvey, Bryce Young. I just watched every Panther game from week 15 or 16, 17, 18. And I thought Bryce was looking good and playing really well there. Chris Olave, man, oh man. I know everybody hates him right now, and I know the team stinks, but like whether it's Rattler or Shuck, I think you're looking at a guy who could be, in that high 20s, low 30s target share. He might just get absolutely just pumped with targets here, man. Like this could be the play, but I'm going to go Kenny Walker here, right? I like Chris Olave there. I'm going Kenny 3-Sticks. I think Kenny 3-Sticks could be, in the top 5 of running backs. Again, health has to be there. But I think talent-wise, he's up there with any of those guys. We've scratched off the list that he can't catch passes. We saw over the last few years him be very, very good at that. We saw him, let's see here. I mean, he had 51 targets last year and 46 receptions, and he only played in 11 games. So this new regime is going to be run heavy. They've got a lot of Kenny worship kind of going on. Coach speak, take it for what it is. You know, he was first in missed first tackles per attempt, 16.5 points per game in his 11 games last year. I think, you know, Sharps is going to get a little bit of run, I'm sure, but Kenny just operates differently. And in the 6th round here, I'm getting a guy who could be just an absolute difference maker. And you're kind of starting to run out of running backs, right? We talked about some of those, you know, those rookies, and I like Harvey and I like Caleb Johnson. I actually like being in the 6th round here quite a bit. But then, you know, it's Chuba is one left, and we'll talk about him next, I'm sure. But Derrick Henry, and then it gets to be a lot of older running backs there. And then you're after this, you're going to start getting into a lot more dart throws. So the 6th round is a nice little cornucopia of some fun players here. So who you got, Chev?
I went with, it's funny that you brought up Bryce Young because I was struggling. I struggled in this round. These next 2 rounds, I struggled with quite a bit. But it's funny that you brought up Bryce Young because we didn't share notes on this. And I've been a big Bryce guy. So Bryce Young's my guy here, going at the 6'12". 6'11", excuse me. I went like, so I saw you saw the gradual change. And then you saw at the end of the year, he was playing with the confidence that a number 1 pick should be playing with. Now, when he took back over in weeks 8 to 18, he was 20.8 points a game. You would say, oh, was buoyed by the 40-point game in week 18. Like, he had a 30-point game too. So he's not like he's just you're relying on one boom game. He's a pocket passer that gave you, 6 rushing touchdowns. He's doing all the things that he put on tape. And I think, for a guy, do I think he's going to come out and average 20 points a game this year? I don't know, but it's possible. Yeah. It's entirely possible. He gives you something with his legs. He ran around a little bit last year, and then this year he gets 6 rushing touchdowns. That's going to come down, but he's still going to give you something from a rushing perspective. So I'm going Bryce Young here. You go with the insulated QB value. He's still got something to prove, and I think that he's going to be in that 16 to 20 points per game range once it's all said and done, with another year with Dave Canales, with Ted McMillan, with another year with Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette, and them kind of getting to know each other and figuring it out. So, yes, I am very bullish on Bryce Young here, and that is my pick at the 6'11", favorite pick of the 6th round.
Yeah, I saw in those games, like Bryce, just the mobility of Bryce and the comfortability of Bryce just looked like it was night and day. And yes, you saw him getting out of the pocket. You saw him run for a touchdown or 2 kind of through those stretches. So I like that a lot. All right, let's keep it moving. The 7th round, we got DJ Moore heading it off. We got Jalen Waddle. We got Derrick Henry. We got Jordan Addison. Chuba Hubbard coming in at 705. We got Terry McLaurin, 706. Georgie Pickens coming in at 707. DK Metcalf, 708. Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, Jackson Dart, and Jameson Williams holding down the 7th round. Who are you going with here? Because I'm curious, because I know you like a couple of guys in this range, and I think you kind of hate a couple guys in this range. So I'm going to assume, if I had to guess, it's George Pickens. But
who are you going with? Brother, this was really tough for me because I love George Pickens. I love Jameson Williams. Like, I'm struggling. I struggled for a long time with this. And then I eventually landed. I mean, I love Jordan Addison. I had to go with my guy that I think is going to take another step forward this year. I went with Chuba Hubbard. Now, I like it. There was a bunch of guys that we've talked about. We did wide receiver rankings a while ago, and I was really bullish on Jordan Addison and Jameson Williams. We talked about Chuba Hubbard last episode and Jameson Williams. I think that Chuba Hubbard, 16 points a game last year, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 40 receptions in 15 games. This offense is taking a step forward, and he handled 80% of the carries inside the 5. I don't think Rico Dowdle's a threat to that. Other than that, they've only got Trevor Etienne, the younger brother of Travis Etienne, in the backfield. And Jonathan Brooks isn't playing in 2025. And we have Chuba, on the re-up contract, and Dave Canales talking about how he's a culture setter. So it pained me to have to make a selection here because so recently in a startup, I traded into I got 4 picks in the 7th round because there's so many players in this range that I love. But it's Chuba Hubbard for me. No, full stop, no equivocations. I think that offense is ascending, and I want to buy. That's the cheapest bell cow you can buy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so he'd probably be my favorite as well. But I like a lot of other guys here. But, you could make the case, well, how much better can it get? I just think the Panthers can just get better. So I think everything can get a little better for Chuba, right? I think the volume could stay the same or even get a little bit better. We saw some pass, he's not some passing game savant, but, you just check it down to him. He's got some speed. He can make you miss. He can bang a little bit. He earned the contract. And I kind of like the trajectory of the Carolina Panthers, so I don't mind tying myself to this. And then the last point you made was one of the best points is it falls off here. He's the kind of the last one that I can get that I'm excited about. There's other guys later in the draft that of course I'm excited about. Let's put it this way. Potential bell cow that I don't see. It's not even potential. The bell cow, he's gonna be the bell cow. There's Rico Dowdle should get a little bit of run. I thought Rico was great last year at the end of the season for the Cowboys, but I think Chuba Hubbard is a fantastic pick through the 7th round here, and should be a lot of people's faves. I'll go another rookie here, even though Jameson Williams is I think a fun pick here to take. I think we're going to see one more step forward kind of from him. And I've been a big George Pickens guy forever. But I'm going Luther Burden just because, I haven't really picked.
We have a brand.
Yeah, I haven't really picked any of my boys here. So, again, if you've been following along with the rookie stuff, big Luther Burden guy. They're kind of my kryptonite style of players like that. I mentioned Zay Flowers earlier. I love those yak guys. I'm very interested to see what the role that Ben Johnson has for Luther Burden, and the price is still very palatable here. For me, when I get these offenses, I'm like, all right, well, what's the cheapest asset that I can buy in this offense? And obviously DeAndre Swift is cheaper than Burden, but through all of the other assets in this offense, DJ Moore is a little ahead of him. Rome Odunze's up in the 4th round, which I love Rome. No problem buying Rome. Rome's probably going to be more of an acquisition for an already built roster rather than the startup for me. I think somebody's going to be more frustrated with that than how I have to acquire him in the startup. And that's not going to be everybody, but there's plenty of people who are like, oh, Rome's stinks. He's a bust for whatever reason because they have no patience. And then, Colston Loveland's up there. Obviously, we talked about the tight end market and deservedly so, but Luther Burden is just down here damn near in the 8th round. And I think he could eventually be and I think Ben Johnson has done a good job stating this isn't going to be the offense I just ran in Detroit. I'm going to take all my sum of my parts and I'm going to do what they all do well. And I'm going to create a new offense, which is the right answer. Right. But I think Luther Burden is just such a chess piece for him to be able to do a lot of different things with. So I'm going to buy the cheapest part of the Bears offense. And it just so happens to be a thing that I really like.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, I was slow to the Luther Burden party because I wanted to see if he was going to go somewhere where I had hope that play caller would understand how to utilize him, and people are going to say, look at, he lined up 80% of the slot in Missouri and look at what he did with Amon-Ra St. Brown. But that's not where I'm looking at. I'm looking at how he fully incorporated Jameson Williams. I think that instead of having 2 running backs and one of the running backs being as dynamic as Jahmyr Gibbs was, he's going to get used a lot like Jameson Williams. You're going to get a lot of short area targets, but you can also go up top. But they're going to manufacture a lot of touches, whether it's short handoff,
pop pass, sweeps, right? Yeah.
Yes. So they're going that's the beautiful part of that no one's talking about is if he goes into the slot and they're not going to hyper target him. If he just goes in the slot and he's, you're expecting Amon-Ra St. Brown. But you can look at Jameson Williams and see how they manufactured touches for him. They were doing reverses. They were doing all this. to get him the ball and let him operate in space, which that is the most special part of Luther Burden's game. And that's what I feel like Ben Johnson is going to be able to unlock immediately.
Want more access to the FFD without leaving YouTube? Sign up for a YouTube membership and get access to all the perks of a Patreon membership with ADP, Dynasty Rankings, our rookie draft kit, and extra shows every week, all through Discord. Hope to see you there.
I like it. All right, let's go rapid fire through these last 3 rounds. Okay, we got 8, 9, and 10, and then we're gonna do a later round version of this, kind of a stash thing. So make sure you check that out. Let's go rapid fire through the back half, through the back 3 here. All right. So 8th round, we have Justin Fields, Tua, Ayuk, Mixon, Pearsall, Tyreek Hill, David Montgomery, Jaden Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Andrews, Trey Harris, and Kincaid. I'm going Ricky Pearsall here with my pick. Who you got?
Trey Harris.
Trey Harris. Okay. Give me a sentence or two. Why?
Well, I love the landing spot. I love the fact that they're now going to be able to use him as a prototypical X. We've seen Michael Crabtree have success in the Greg Roman offense previously. So I think that that's kind of the role that we're going to have to see. We're going to foresee for him. I think he can win down the sideline, and I think he's going to flourish in that role. It's just going to be a little bit less consistent because it's coming more down the field. But I fully believe that Trey Harris is a quality NFL starter.
Yeah. I mean, Trey Harris is a big part of the show. I know I've said that a lot tonight, but love Trey Harris and love the role for him there. I want Ricky Pearsall, obviously a little banged up right now, which is not what we wanted to see. I just put out the breakouts and he was in there for me. I think if he can get back on the field, I think he could be practicing right now is kind of what they said. They just don't want to, it's not that he doesn't need to be, as long as he doesn't, have anything crazy happen to him again. I think this rapport can be built out with him and Purdy. I think they got good plans for him. He showed some signs of life of being able to get open and be somebody that they can count on kind of down the stretch. So I went Ricky Pearsall. I think he's got a trajectory to really gain some ground as far as value wise and be in your lineup. So as far as points per game, and I think there's a big room for him to grow to 4 or 5 rounds here pretty easily as he becomes a big part of that offense, which I believe he will be. All right, let's go to the 9th round. We got Sam Darnold, Alvin Kamara, Cam Scatabo, Jaden Reed, Mike Evans, Anthony Richardson, Chris Godwin, Isaiah Pacheco, Josh Downs, Brian Robinson, Tucker Kraft, and Kyle Pitts. I'm going Jaden Reed here. I really like, cheap. He's pretty cheap, 9th rounder. We've seen him have the ability to put up wide receiver 1 numbers. I think you do have to manufacture touches for him, and you should manufacture touches for him. But I think him being more like a 2, as far as Golden being the quote unquote 1, I think really serves Jaden Reed really well. So that's why I like this here. And it's the 9th round. It's not like Cam Scatabo or Jaden Reed. It's Jaden Reed every time for me. Right. Yeah. So there's a couple guys in this round where I'm like, oh yeah, like this isn't that fun of a round. And Jaden Reed is a lot of fun who, I'm not expecting him to be maybe what we were thinking he could be, but I think from the glimpses that we've seen in pieces, we could get a little bit more consistency from this offense growing and maturing, and him being the 2 and Golden kind of being there, the guy that they obviously just invested a lot of capital in.
Right. We don't need, the typical slot alignment of slot allotment of targets. We just needed to go like north of 100, north of 110, and we're good. He's going to give you, back like between wide receiver 15 and wide receiver 20 points per game wise, if you can get there. So I went with his teammate here. I went with Tucker Kraft. We just talked about breakouts for this year, and I believe Tucker Kraft is firmly on that list. And I think that he's going to make one of the biggest jumps in as far as ADP goes in the entire NFL. Like in our ADP, I feel like he's a 9th round pick. I feel like going into next year, we could be talking about him in like that 4th, 5th, 6th round. Yeah.
No, certainly. I've actually thought that he'd be a little higher than he is right now. So that's a lot of people love Kraft. That's a good, thing to always kind of monitor. Is I think there's a lot of people are just salivating for anything positive that Kraft does. There's not going to be a lot of people saying, yeah, but about him. They're just the value is just going to go like when you got a fish on the line and that thing's running, right?
Yeah, dude.
So
like, just again, harken back to the statement I made about Rashee. How many times does a player have to show you they're good before you actually believe them?
Yeah. All right. Last round here, and then we'll move on to the stash video. So make sure you like, subscribe, and you're following along with the FFD here. 10th round, we got Devontae Adams leading it off, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Geno Smith, James Conner, Travis Etienne, Jack Mesh, Jonnu Smith, 1008, Swift, 1009, Michael Pittman, 1010, Joku, 1011, and Keon Coleman at 1012. Who you got in this round, Chev?
I went Travis Etienne. We're
gonna agree on the same guy on this last one.
Yeah.
Why Etienne?
Yeah. I think
first of all, we've been saying Etienne since December. So
yes. So
anyway.
I said cheapest bell cow. This might actually be the cheapest bell cow. The problem here is that, okay, so everything that Tank Bigsby does well, Travis Etienne can also do well. Everything that Travis Etienne does well, Tank Bigsby does not do. And then Basil Tootin fumbles a lot. 9 fumbles, 406 touches in the last 2 years. That to me is the biggest thing, the biggest precursor to me creating a path for relevance for Basil Tootin. Now, beyond 2026, I don't know. If the Jags are actually good, they're not going to let Travis Etienne just walk out of the door. And even if they do, he could go somewhere. He could play well enough this year. This is a former RB3 overall in 2023. He could play well enough to earn a second contract somewhere else, in which case he would be 27 years old. We wouldn't be fading him because of the age, but he would be one of the older guys. But yeah, Travis Etienne for me, I mean, if he gets 250 to 300 touches, would we really be that surprised to go back to his 2023 usage?
Yeah. No, this is an auto pick, been an auto pick. I have to back off of the pick multiple times before this because I'm like, I like this guy. I have faith in him. I think he could do a lot. Now there's positive coach speak coming out right now from Jacksonville about Etienne. And I thought this might be how it goes because it's not like Etienne's also a good guy, right? So I just feel like when this new regime comes in, I feel like him and Trevor have a rapport, have a relationship, and they're going to do everything right? As long, again, we talked about injury, as long as Travis Etienne can stay injury, which he had an injury week 1 and then had another injury in like week 6 or 7.
Yep.
And it just wasn't quite right for a lot of that season. Like you said, he's been very productive in this league. I could really, really see a path where all of a sudden they bring him back and he's making $12 million for the next couple of years with Trevor and Travis being tied to the hip for most of their career. And then we maybe we do see some Tootin or maybe it's Bigsby. We don't know. But I think I always thought it was just quite a stretch to just think that Tootin was coming in here and jumping the line to both of those guys, which is kind of a big reason why I like Etienne quite a bit at this range. And again, if it doesn't work out and I'm wrong, it doesn't cost you anything. But again, you could be taking a guy in the 10th round right now who's worth a first round pick by week 3, right? Because he's getting 25 touches a game and he's playing really, really well for Jacksonville. So that's interesting to me. I'll take a known good player and a known good dude who can kind of do everything you want him to do. Again, not a savant as far as route running prowess, but a good pass catcher, good enough pass catcher. And I know you can point to some drops that he's had, but I think he's a solid all around running back. So Travis Etienne wrapping up both of our 10th round favorites because we tried to go 1-1, but Etienne, baby, let him live, let him have his own glory at the back half of this show. All right, Chev, let him know where we can find what we need to be on the lookout for Mr. Chev.
Mr. Chev, I thought you were gonna go. So I thought it was like you.
I was thinking Chev will have a ding dong or whatever.
It's fine. Yeah. So first and foremost, follow me on Twitter, the Twitter Xverse. All my stuff is there in a link tree, the Quantum of Chevis. And then if you want, we're still, so Another version of the rankings app is going to come out. We're going to have a little bit more fun, gamified aspect of it. So be on the lookout for that. You can download it now and put your ranks in, but there's an update coming. It's going to be awesome. So download that, League Champ, in the Play Store and in the App Store.
Make sure you go check all that stuff out. And there's plenty more FFD if you want it. Go find it. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next time. Peace.